You rejoin us for the sprint race of the first meeting of the 2016-17 FF2M Asia series, taking place at the Sepang circuit near Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Quick recap of the feature race, and it was Pierre Gasly who won that one, with a very good drive from 11th on the grid, despite some contact mid-race with his great enemy Esteban Ocon while they were dicing for second place. But an early pit stop compared to his teammate Charles Leclerc was essentially what won Gasly the race, because Leclerc left it way too late to make his mandatory pit stop, but he ended up finishing second, making it a Willows Jr. 1-2. And third was Genjo Se in the GRM Junior. And that result for Willows Jr. actually means that Petronas, the local sponsors of Malaysia and sponsors of Willows' main FF1M team, have organised a little colour scheme change. You'll see that in the race later on. Last season's sprint race saw Pascal Wehrlein win the 2015-16 FF2M Asia race there. He didn't have such a good race in the feature race, getting involved in quite a lot of contact, particularly on the first lap with series returnee Itsuki Yoshida. Taking 8th in the feature race was Callum Ilott, and as per the FF2M rules, the top 8 are reversed, so Ilott starts from pole position ahead of Esteban Ocon. More on why he's starting second, and he finished 7th in the feature race later on. Kvyat will start 3rd ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi 4th, George Russell 5th ahead of Genjo Se 6th, and then the Willows Junior lot on row 4, Charles Leclerc ahead of Pierre Gasly, race winner of the feature race. Then it's Alexander Albon 9th ahead of Benjamin Pryor 10th, Itsuki Yoshida 11th ahead of Jack Aitken in 12th. Then it's Pascal Wehrlein, last season's sprint race winner, 13th on the grid ahead of Mitch Evans. Sergei Sorokin will start 15th for Monolith Racing System ahead of Maz. Then it's Santino Ferrucci, 17th on the grid in the other liquid target, ahead of Pietro Fittipaldi 18th. Then the list of retirements that occurred in that feature race, in order of how late they finished. It's Chuck Bucknam 19th, Lance Stroll 20th, Lucas Auer 21st and Nick De Vries in 22nd. So, let's get into the sprint race where the 5 lights go on. Ilott on the left, Ocon on the right, and the 5 lights go out. Who gets the best start out of the front row? Ocon looking to make amends for what happened in the feature race. He got involved in some contact with Gasly and then another driver later on, losing his front wing in the process, but into the first corner, and Ocon going round the outside, trying to anyway on Callum Ilott. Now he's got the inside line for the turn 2 left-hand hairpin, but Ilott hanging on, and he holds on to the lead for Monolith Racing System. And it's Daniel Kvyat holding on to 3rd ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi 4th, Russell 5th, and then let's have a look at Daniel Kvyat making a move on Esteban Ocon into turn 4, but not quite. Ocon hanging on around the outside, and then further back, Benjamin Pryor's made a very good start. He started 10th and now he's up to 7th. Can he get some points in this race? Well, let's see what happens in that sprint race. I think Pryor is on these soft tyres, so it's looking good for Pryor to make some moves. Genjo Se trying to make an overtake, and he spins right in front of the pack. Who is he trying? Oh, he's made contact with one of the Medside 7s, and there's a wheel off. Whose wheel is that? Is that the Genjo Se? There's a Shake and Make Jr. rejoining in the background, and Genjo Se is out of the race, and there's going to be contact here between Pietro Fittipaldi. Oh no, another wheel gone. So that is a Shake and Make Jr. out of the race. Is that Yoshida? It could well be, and maybe that spinning Shake and Make Jr. was Lucas Auer, but we'll try and confirm that a bit later on. As up the inside is that Alexander Albon making a move on one of the repainted Willows Juniors. It could well have been, but here is Esteban Ocon on those hard tyres, the blue-ringed hard tyres, looking to try and make a move on Callum Ilott for the race lead. You better be careful. This is where he, approaching the final hairpin is where he spun and then got collected by another driver and had to make 2 pit stops as a result in the race. Still finished 7th in the end, giving 2 points for Spaniel, but could have been much more than that. And Pryor's up to 5th, so he's now moved into the points ahead of Charles Leclerc and somebody else. It was Mitch Evans and Pierre Gasly in 8th place, and not doing quite as well in the sprint race. He was running the soft tyres in the feature race, which means that he'll reverse the compounds for this sprint race, running on the hard tyres, but in this short 12-lap race compared to the 31 of the feature race, it's all about pushing as hard as you can to try and make up positions, and Ilott defending very aggressively, but Ocon trying not to have any of that, but Ilott hanging on round the outside at turn 4, and that's going to allow Daniel Kvyat to close up, and Antonio Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi had a very good debut FF2M race, where he started 14th, qualified on the hard tyres, and used the softs in the feature race to move his way very steadily up the order. It was fairly uneventful, maybe aside from 1 or 2 moments of contact, but here comes Ocon into turn number 9, and Ocon takes the lead of the race for Spaniel. A long-time Willows Junior driver, he's jumped ship to Spaniel for this season, and who are we on board with? It's going to be a Danish racing team making contact with the back of a Willows Junior and getting very good traction at the exit. It's Pascal Wehrlein overtaking, I assume it must be Pierre Gasly he's just passed. So, is there going to be more contact? That's Pietro Fittipaldi being nudged by one of the monoliths. And just approaching them as well, that was Lance Stroll in the other Spaniel. Lance Stroll had a very difficult, very short-lived feature race where he ran wide at turn 12 and rejoined right into the path of Lucas Auer, causing the retirements of both. Look at this, Giovinazzi and Benjamin Pryor trying to, they are going at it for 4th place, but Pryor on these soft tyres looks to be the quicker driver at this stage, but Giovinazzi looking to try and make an impact in FF2M, and Pryor now getting a good run up the inside, Giovinazzi defending, and into the first corner. Oh no, there's contact between the two STVs, and there's a front wing gone, and it's Giovinazzi's front wing, so he's going to be making a pit stop, and that's just completely trashed STV Racing's race. Let's have a look. Giovinazzi defending quite hard. Pryor up the inside. And 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, I reckon. But maybe Giovinazzi could have left a bit more space as Pryor had just edged ahead by the time they turned into the first corner. So, here's Nick De Vries coming up the inside of one of the liquid targets. I think it's Nikita Mazepin. And the final hairpin. And De Vries making that move stick. Now, is that Pryor? I think it is Pryor, as Giovinazzi has come into the pits, and now Pryor's dropped way down the order to 17th place. So he had a pretty miserable time of it last season at Sepang, and he's had another miserable time of it this season. And the battling De Vries and Mazepin now being joined by the unfortunate Welshman, and exiting turn 2 and going into turn 3. Pryor versus Mazepin into 4, and we make more contact just a little bit, but not too much. But now we switch to the back straight. Pryor in 16th, Mazepin 15th, and Pryor much faster at this point of the race as he tries to get up the inside going into the final hairpin, and he makes that overtake stick. So Benjamin Pryor recovering, but no chance of points. Here is another debutant in FF2M, but he's still got an FF3M season to complete. Chuck Bucknam, and up the inside going into turn 4, taking 10th place off of Lance Stroll. Yeah, Chuck Bucknam is very much a championship contender in FF3M along with Daisuke Sakia. He'll be missing round 3 of the... look at this bit of action. A Shake and Bake Jr. Lucas Auer versus Lance Stroll. Yeah, Bucknam will be missing the 3rd meeting of the championship. I think it takes place at the Bahrain Grand Prix circuit, and his place will be taken by Sebastian Buemi, veteran of FF1M and FF2M, and it'll be interesting to see how Buemi copes against this new lot. Here's Benjamin Pryor continuing his recovery drive, making his way past Nick De Vries for 14th place. No contact this time at the first corner, as Pryor now chases the other liquid target right in front of him. That'll be Santino Ferrucci. Meanwhile, Esteban Ocon, despite those slower, harder tyres, has controlled this race very nicely from second on the grid, thanks to his rather poor showing. Not exactly his fault, though. I mean, he did have contact going into the final hairpin in the feature race, but he's more than made up for that in the sprint race, as out of the final corner. And despite having jumped ships from Willows Junior to Spaniel, Ocon is showing why he's still good, and he takes the victory. And, more yellow flags somewhere. Let's find out where that is. Is it Pryor versus Ferrucci into the double right? It is indeed, and Pryor caps off his miserable sprint race. As for the more important positions in the top 6, well, they consist of Callum Ilott in second, very good drive from Ilott, and a podium in Horizon's return as a new name. Daniel Kvyat third, ahead of Charles Leclerc fourth, and we've got Mitch Evans and Pascal Wehrlein completing the top 6. Evans and Wehrlein on the soft tyres, so that will have helped them quite a bit. Completing the top 10, Gasly, Fittipaldi, Sorokin and Chuck Bucknam, making it to the end of an FF2M race. Fastest lap was set by Esteban Ocon, so he just had it completely hooked up around the Sepang circuit sprint race. You can see a list of 3 retirements. They consist of Genjo Say, and it was George Russell. We missed who hit Say going into the double right at 7 and 9, and it turned out it was George Russell. And the other retirement, well, it was Itsuki Yoshida in the Shake and Make Junior, so inauspicious return to FF2M for the Japanese driver. It's Pierre Gasly who leads the championship, ahead of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc only 2 points behind Gasly, and Ocon moving up to third thanks to that sprint race win and fastest lap, and the rest of the points all in the top 10 in its Russell, Kvyat, Ilott, Tse, Giovinazzi, Evans and Wehrlein. And as for the team's championship, it's a fairly comfortable 10-point buffer for Willows Jr. over Gajera 2, and Spaniel move up to third, all thanks to Esteban Ocon. Monolith an impressive fourth in their return, ahead of GRM Jr. and completing those who have scored points, STV Racing, Medsign 7 and Danish Racing Team. OLN Racing, Shake and Make Jr. and Liquid Target all yet to score points. And that concludes the footage of the FF2M Asia Series, the opening meeting of what could be the final Asia Series of FF2M. We shall see you for the next one, and that will be taking place at Suzuka, supporting the Japanese Grand Prix. So we shall see you for then.